Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So it's definitely been a while since my last attempt to do a painting tutorial type video, mostly due to the fact that I'm on batch army mode right now, which doesn't really lend itself to doing decent one-off videos. So to mix things up in between like major milestones, I've been painting one or two individual minis just to break up the monotony, so this is one of them. So the story behind this fellow, I found him while I was doing a major clean out about a week ago. I believe he came with the Doom 3 Collector's Edition box set, and, well, me being me, I decided, why not, I'll add him to my random backlog, and just pick him up and paint him when I felt like doing something different, so here we go. To start with, I am giving an overall base coat of, I believe it's Vallejo model color, Filthy Brown. Yeah, so just a fair warning, I didn't actually, like a smart person, write down all of the names of all of the paints I used. So I'll just go by what I remember for the most part. Sorry about that. Any road, this will take about 3 coats by my reckoning, so let's speed it up to get to, well, see some better results, I suppose. So yeah, you don't have to be particularly neat with the stage, obviously, just make sure your paint is thin, get it on in like 3 or 4 thin layers, and it'll definitely get the best results. Alright, so I think this is after the first 2 layers, and you can see the colour is really coming along. Just the grey primer remains visible just on the most raised surfaces due to, it being a very thin and watered down paint. It has a tendency to run into the deepest cracks and colour those areas the most. So that's just why you do 2 or 3 layers. And I find it's best to also gradually put less and less paint on your brush every time, so you can gradually move from just smothering the miniature. Smothering's not the right word, but anyway, from smothering the miniature to I don't know, wet brushing, so you're starting to really catch and cover those uppermost surfaces. And here's the wet brushing in action. So basically this is just really thin paints on a very sparsely, I don't know, saturated on a larger dry brush, and I'm just going over the top of the mini to just try and make sure all of the the uppermost surfaces have enough colour on them. So we've just about finished our first, this is actually kind of underpainting, because this is obviously not going to be the final colour. I'm going to go for something a bit more fleshy. Anyway, here we are. So we're starting on our initial base flesh colour. This is the shade layer, I suppose. We're doing it the same way, over wet brushing, and it's a mixture of Vallejo Game Colour Pale Flesh and Filthy Brown. So we're just going to start gradually building that up. So this is one of those things that'll take many layers over many passes. So let's speed that up. I do apologize for the weird lighting. It's the unfortunate side effect of the way my current setup is structured. The unfortunate process behind this is it does mean there's lots of waiting to get things dry. So when I put down the miniature, what I'm actually doing is sometimes I'm taking the miniature off camera to give it a blast with my hairdryer, which will generally expedite the saving process. So if you're keen on doing lots of painting using methods like this really fast, I definitely recommend buying a hairdryer for it, or just using one you normally use for your hair. You know what I mean. Anyway. you can really see the flesh color starting to come through. Again, this is going to take a few more passes, but I think soon we're going to move on to the other flesh colors. As a matter of fact, let's skip there. So we've got the base flesh color more or less down. Jesus, I'm sorry if this gives you motion sickness. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I've got a bit of, I believe that's Carroburg Crimson wash, and I'm starting to basically color in all of the like tortured and strained flesh to give it like an unhealthy purple tinge. I've yet to find a good setup for actually doing this that allows the detail to be of what I'm doing to be really visible and at the same time not like awful to look at. I've seen a few people which do it well, but I've yet to figure out the setup. Especially for me, I need to be able to quickly tear it up and set it up and tear it down, which is a problem. Good look at my hand as I'm sorting out more of my color. So yeah, basically this mix. This wash is also mixed in with about equal parts wash and Lamy and medium just to thin it out a bit, because this first level is just to establish a tone. We'll then hit the deeper crevices later with just the wash uncut. Anyway, moving right along. So this is the stage where we're hitting it with just the plain wash, and yeah, so we're just in the deeper areas, just reinforcing that color, making sure it's definitely standing out, especially in the deepest crevices, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, not much to tell, so let's just skip right along to the next major part. So here I've finished my first pass on the wash. Now I'm going to, well, just start overbrushing to bring back some of the flesh tone and fix up a few splotches here and there where I don't think it works. So yeah, unfortunately this process does involve a lot of back and forth as you build layer upon layer on top of each other. So yeah, let's skip ahead. So yeah, again, going back, just hitting all the parts which I missed the first time, such as the eye sockets and the very deeper recesses, and just making sure that the deepest parts, especially the gaps between the arms and other components, are well and truly hit. So yeah, as you can see, I'm being pretty free and easy with how I do this, and just like cleaning up with my fingers if I miss a bit. Alright, so now I've moved on to Agrax Earthshade, I believe, and I'm aiming for the very deepest parts now. So just getting a bit of that color in and building it up. And again, as that's drying, or rather, as before it's finished drying, just going and cleaning up the flesh where I need to. So here we go. I'm just starting on some of the other details while most of it's drying. So I believe the teeth and the hooves I'm painting with khaki layered up to bone white, then dead white. So yeah, pretty standard like bone type color palette there. Not much to really talk about past that. So for the tubing, I've gone with I believe this is gory red for the base coat, and I'll then give it a wash with Agrax Earthshade to basically establish that dark line between the flesh and the tubing. And then I believe sort of a mid-tonish color of scarlet red, I think. Yeah, let's go with that. And then a highlight of scarlet red mixed in with a little bit of white. I find that the not the model color, the game color reds don't cover particularly well, so this does take a couple of coats to get right. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm a bit scattershot in how I go about painting. I'll often, rather than get it into nice, like, videoable chunks, I'll just, like, do a thing, wait for it to dry, then go and do another thing. It massively saves time, and you also have to bear in mind that I got this entire thing finished in pretty much a day, and that wasn't even an entire day, as I had about half of it where I was indisposed. Anyway, yeah. So I'm also being lazy and using my washes to further darken the parts which don't need a lot of colour and are in heavy shade, like the mouth, for example. I'm not going to go crazy in there. So, our demon is looking quite good so far. Unfortunately, a lot of this is a great deal of back and forth until the desired result starts to pop, so let's just keep going. Okay, starting on the highlights now. So first of all, the colour I'm using is, I believe it's, geez, what was it? I think it's actually bone white mixed with pale flesh. So I'm gradually going to just build this up here and there, and also go back to the base color to hit parts where I think it is overshaded. So yeah, just gradually work on the highlights, get the like especially the folds and wrinkles in the skin. Yuck. Sharpest edges and the tops of like the big bulging lumps of flesh. That is a terrible thing to say. I apologize to everyone who had to hear that. So yeah, more or less fine work though. Like with any of the other stuff, there's a lot of back and forth, going over, doing a bit, and then potentially cleaning it up as you realize that you've over highlighted or not highlighted enough, and so on. So yeah, it's fairly tedious work. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Alright, so in some cases I thought the highlights were a little extreme, so I'm going back with my washes and my base layers and just cleaning them up where I thought I'd overdone them a bit. So in that particular bicep, I'm just working on it again from scratch because I thought it just looked a bit awful. So yeah, highlighting the bone stuff, not much to really talk about that. You've probably seen it like a million times in any other painting tutorial, so let's just skip ahead, shall we? So yeah, as promised, laying down the highlights for our tubing, just gradually working them up around the tip and the especially the kinks where light would probably catch if the surface is indeed considered semi-reflective. Okay, home stretch now. So I decided that I'd lost too much of the deepest base shade, so what I'm doing is I've taken some of my undercoat layer of filthy brown, mixed in a lot of glaze medium, and I'm just doing an overall even coat of this just to bring back that brown tinge to the flesh. So it neatly ties together the various colors, highlights, and so forth. Basically putting a filter on the entire thing. Okay, the eyes are the part I'm probably least happy with. I just did something fairly simple, like a deep green, slightly lighter green, a green shade, then some green shade around the eyelids to give the impression of a glow, but I thought it turned out pretty badly, so let's just skip over that, shall we? Okay, for the metallics, I didn't catch all of it on video, but I used the new Vallejo Model Air range, which Model Air Metallics range, which is pretty much the best metallic paint I've ever used. I mean, just look at that. It's going on pretty much one coat without blotching. Just takes a few, just another one just to get a completely even coat. This is easily the thinnest and best metallic to work with. You do have to be very cautious though, because it will run on you if you let it, so just work on your brush control and you'll get an excellent result. Unfortunately, I didn't get all of the metallic like painting process, so I'll just give you a brief overview of what I did. Um, of course, this is the deepest one. I believe it's like dark burnt exhaust. Then I gradually lay it up to a shining like pale burnt metal, and then I gave the I think they're like weird sci-fi flamethrower things. Just an overall wash of Agrax Earthshade just to give them a dirty look. And I'm also doing the same thing to the fuel canister backpack unit thing. So yeah, as I mentioned, I tried to use some like I think the GW green shades just to get a bit of glow around the eyes, and I think that effect didn't turn out the way I was hoping. Anyway, this is approaching the tail end of the footage I've got, so very soon we'll be heading on to the final review. So here we are. I kind of screwed up the lighting on the final shot, but you can get the gist of everything. So things I went ahead and did off camera were I had to redo the claws on the feet due to making a mess on the base, and the base itself is just a simple three-tone grey. But yeah, in terms of like just a simple break from a batch project, I've rather enjoyed this. So thanks very much for watching, if you have indeed made it this far, all 50 odd of you. Anyway, I will see you on the next video whenever that actually happens. Later.